Brazilian soybeans feed more than 1 billion people worldwide. It began to be produced more than 100 years ago by European immigrants in the southern region of Brazil. Soybean production flourished and developed Brazilian agribusiness thanks to its introduction as a food for animal herds. World War II interrupted the first soy export operations, but allowed the emergence of vegetable oil industries. The migratory wave of farmers from the south to the Midwest and the northwest of the country taking place in the 1970s brought soybean production to those regions. We invest in research and technology to adapt the seeds to the tropical climate and correct the acidity and low fertility of Brazilian soils. Soy has become our main agricultural commodity, with a relevant role for the economy and an important driver of development in the past 30 years. The year 1990 marks the establishment of the Brazilian Association of Soy Producers. That same year, the country produced 20 million tons of soy. The planted area was 11 million hectares, and the average productivity was not more than 1,740 kilos per hectare. Exports reached 4 million tons of soybean, 9 million tons of soybean meal, and almost 900,000 tons of soybean oil. 30 years later, production increased by 516%, exceeding 120 million tons. The planted area rose 220%, going beyond 36 million hectares. And productivity grew 93%, reaching 3,360 kilos per hectare. We became export leaders and the largest producers in the world next to the United States. In 2020, the soy complex exports figured 77 million tons of soybeans, almost 17 million tons of soybean meal, and 900,000 tons of soybean oil, which represented $33 billion. For every $100 exported, $14 came from soybeans. China was the destination for 66 million tons of soybeans, which corresponded to 85% of the 2019-2020 crop exports. The numbers reinforce the importance of the commercial partnership between the two countries and show signs of growth of the grain market amid the coronavirus pandemic. The projection for 2029 is an increase of 32% in production, 22% in consumption, and 41% in exportation. Soy has an important role in social and environmental sustainability. According to the United Nations Development Program, UNPD, in 1991, 79% of Brazilian rural municipalities had a low Human Development Index, and 20% had a very low HDI. In 2018, 57% of these municipalities figured among cities with high HDI, and 38% figured among cities with average HDI. The soy production chain gathers around 240,000 producers and creates jobs in production sectors of agricultural production, industry, commerce, and services in small, medium, and large cities. Brazilian soy is the most sustainable in the world. No other country that is a major food producer preserves as much native vegetation as Brazil. Of the 851.6 million hectares of national territory, 66 are preserved, which is equivalent to 564 million football fields. Soy production occupies only 4% of the country's total area, equivalent to 36 million hectares. Of the 66% of native vegetation in the country, 25% are preserved on productive farms. Since 2012, Brazilian producers have been bound by law to allocate 20% to 80% of their properties to preserve forests, riverbanks, springs, and hilltops. Among the 10 countries with the greatest territorial extension, Brazil is the 7th in areas of crops. Among the major food producers, Brazil is the one that most preserves its natural resources. Among the G20 countries, Brazil is the 3rd country with the most forest coverage, 61%. We are the largest soy producer, and yet we maintain our status as a mega-diverse country with the greatest biodiversity on the planet. Brazilian soy has the highest oil and protein content, ideal for producing meat. On a global scale, the scene is one of uncertainty and challenges. In 2019, there was the outbreak of the African swine fever, followed by the coronavirus pandemic. What could be a cause for distress is being overcome. Demand remains high, and the Brazilian grain production was not affected. In March 2020, a new record for soy shipments through the port of Paranaguá took place, which had not occurred since 2018. The coming years will see an increase in the role of soy produced in the country and the consolidation of Brazil as an agricultural power. In 2020, the year in which Aprosoja Brasil celebrates 30 years, we can be proud of producing the most nutritious and sustainable soy in the world. Brazilian farmers, sustainability is our mark.